Hello there everyone. So what I'm going to be showing you today is how to use earth magic or earth alchemy to divine your soul path. So every person is born with a name, obviously, right? And that name is usually given to us by our ancestors or our parents or something, right? This is something that's actually been proven in psychology. The kind of name that you have kind of sort of rewires your brain and dictates how successful or how far you're going to go. Now, this isn't a rule that goes all across the board, right? Because not every Steve is going to turn into a Steve Jobs, right? And not every Steve that ends up becoming a Steve Jobs is going to be, at some point unsuccessful like a regular Steve. But the phonetics of your name end up basically rewiring something inside of you that tells you, hey, this is what I'm capable of, this is what I'm going to go towards, this is my identity, and this is the framework in which I exist in. The runes from the Druid Alchemy was very well aware of this, and when you're going through a spiritual rebirth, you sometimes change your name. So I've definitely changed my name several different times when I've realized that I'm not what I used to be, right? When I grew up, people used to call me AJ. That was my childhood nickname. I stopped associating with that name AJ because it just wasn't who I was anymore. So then I started going by my name Axel, right? And after some time, I felt like Axel was appropriate in some places, but Axel was appropriate in other places. Then with time, I ended up realizing that I was beyond Axel or Axel, and I started understanding other names that belonged to me in the greater scope of my understanding. So this next piece that I'm going to be showing you, I did it all by hand. This is something I've been doing for years when I do like advanced energy work for people, and I'm trying to divine for them in their life path when I'm doing Vedic astrology and stuff like that. So I'm going to be showing you the exact same technique that I use with Druid Alchemy to find out the meaning of my name. And then I'm going to make it even easier for you, because this morning I was like, hey, I wonder if anyone else remembered this from their Druid lifetimes and have made a different way of getting to this information easier. So I'm going to show you the analog way, because this is how I've been doing it for years, since I remembered my Druid lifetime when I was all about like 21 years old, okay? And at the time that I'm recording this, I'm 30. So as you can see, each rune not only has its hieroglyph, right, like the symbol that you would be using, like this symbol right here, but they also have a pronunciation, right, how you pronounce it, or the talisman, the spoken word. So if you've taken Quantum Reiki, then you know, okay, like the symbol itself is one thing, right? But then if you understand that the symbol that is identified as light of life, bam, all of a sudden you activated a different frequency of it altogether. Similar to this talisman right here, going with Fehu, right? And looking, okay, so those two go together. Now, the rune alphabet is actually an alphabet for the Druids and the Celtic Norse shamans that were using it. So each letter is literally composed to a different letter of its own. So one of the things that I started doing when I was about 22, 23, I started realizing, okay, this is all interconnected. What if I were to take my name and plug in my name to this greater understanding? So let's see if I can pull up this. Okay. So as you can see, these runes over here, on this side over here, they definitely match up with what I'm putting here. So what I ended up doing was I wrote down each one of the names that I feel like I'm most attached to. So Autumn Ra, my Egyptian name; Asteros, down here, my Atlantean name; my Buddhist name when I was a Buddhist monk, Nameless, which I didn't have a name; Axel, this current incarnation; Alberto, a name that like my parents usually call me when they try to put like power over me and stuff like that, right? Like that kind of energy. So what I ended up doing was I wrote down my name, and then I found with each one of these, as you see, Anzus on this area right over here equals an A. A for Autumn Ra. So then I went down and I looked for T. Then we have Tiwaz. Then I looked for U, Uruz, right? And I kept doing that until I spelled out my whole entire name. Now, when I have my name written down, not only am I looking at, okay, this is kind of like the spell cast of my name up here, this bracket right over here that's being highlighted. That's what it looks like in runes to be my name. And then this portion right here is the command, right? So if I wanted to really sit in my vibration, I would do Anzus, Tiwas, Urus, Manas, Raidho, Anzus. Anzus, Tiwas, Urus, Manas, Raidho, Anzus. Anzus, Tiwas, Urus, Manas, Raidho, Anzus. Alright? So as you do that with your own personal name, you're going to start feeling, ooh, something's being triggered, something's waking up, something's activating itself, okay? But it just doesn't stop here, all right? So the first step is you taking the time to check out, if you want to do it analog, go ahead and check out the link that I'm going to be providing to the phonetics of each letter. Put your name together and even copy the spellcast name, right? So that way you can have your own little personal mantra. If I were to do it with a different name, let's say Asteros, this top portion is what my whole entire name looks like in Druid Alchemy. So then it would be Anzuz, Sowilo Tiwaz, Iwaz, Raidho, Othala, Sowilo. And I could keep doing that, and I could even repeat each one of the names if I really wanted to, and I'd get down to a better understanding of myself. But this is just the first part, all right? So maybe pause this video to get this done, or use the generator that I'm going to provide in the links below so you can have the program doing it correctly for you. So I had done all of these by myself and many years ago, and what I ended up doing was this morning, like I said, I found a generator of someone who actually knew how the phonetics of the letters go. So there's actually a program that will do this work for you instead of having to take about a couple hours to do this and kind of find the vibration. But once you have the scripture written down and you know what the energies are, right, you're going to go ahead and you're going to look at the meanings of the runes, the rune alphabet meaning, okay? So if we go ahead and we start off with Anzuz, and we're just going to look at the top name right here, Autumn Ra, okay? Autumn Ra, Anzuz, Tiwas, Uruz, Manas, Raidho, Anzuz. So here, when I'm reading Autumn, the first letter of my name, A, okay, the ancestral god, or Odin. My purpose is a revealing message or insight, communication. I teach people on revealing messages about the cosmos. That's very much so in alignment with what I do right now. It signals inspiration, enthusiasm, speech, true vision, the power of words, and naming. I'm pretty much doing that actively right now with you guys. I'm always teaching you guys how to inspire yourself, how to look for those signals in the community. I'm always teaching, trying to help you be your true version of yourself. It means blessings, the taking of advice, good health, harmony, truth, wisdom. All things that are tied to me in my conscious form. But wait, it just doesn't stop there. You can't just read the positive aspects. You need to read the negative aspects of that same letter, okay? So misunderstandings, delusion, manipulation by others, boredom, definitely all things that have happened to me. I've always been misunderstood at some point in my life because I understand too much about the cosmos. Not something new to me. Delusion. Sometimes I believe too much in the goodness of others and it puts me at a disadvantage. Manipulation by others. Because of that same last detail that I gave you, some people somehow find a way to manipulate me from time to time. Not so much anymore, but it used to be a vibration. And boredom. I'm an Aries. I get super bored with whatever it is that I'm doing if it's not entertaining enough. And it's a problem in my life sometimes because I'll be working on a project and I'm just like, oh, I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm done with this. I'll come back to it later because I got bored instantly, because in my mind, time runs too slow and the material world can't keep up with everything that I'm channeling. So at the same time, you can look at vanity and grandiloquence. So grandiloquence meaning that you want to be grand and you want to grow and you want to expand. That's definitely one of my vibrations. I used to be a prince in Atlantis. I used to be pharaoh in Egypt. I've always had this level of royalty in all of my incarnations, and in this lifetime, grandolescence. Like, I ended up publishing Quantum Reiki, Antojai Alchemy. It swept the world. I'm global now. Like, that's definitely true to my vibration. Vanity. I can sometimes be vain. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes I get really vain with, oh, I have all these stones in my house, but I need more stones because I need more energy being produced in my house. If I don't have that energy, then blah, 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 right? And that can kind of like cause a deficiency inside of me, all right? So then the last thing is, Odin is mighty, but a duplicitous god. He always has his own agenda. I'm definitely in alignment with that. I know I have a lot of power. I have this agenda to help people, but at the same time, if I have to step away from that agenda in general to get to the next level of what I'm trying to accomplish, I don't have a problem doing that. So that's very much in alignment with what I'm experiencing in my lifetime. So let's go to T-Waz, okay? The T, the sky god, honor, justice, leadership, and authority. That's definitely who I am and what I'm doing right now. Like, I told you guys that my parents are Thoth and Mat, cosmic wisdom, cosmic justice, right? They both have honor and leadership. Analysis, rationality. I'm constantly studying esoterica, making it rational for the average mind. Knowing where one's true strength lies. Willingness to self-sacrifice. I definitely do that all the time. Victory and success in any competition or legal matter. I've always said this, if you're in Patreon, you know, like, if you've heard some of my dark alchemy episodes, I always walk away confident that if someone does something negative to me, the cosmos will take care of it. That's their own karma. There's no need for me to hold on to it. Like, I'll come out on top. That's exactly what happens. But looking at the reversal of that same energy, one's energy and creative flow are blocked. So yes, I get moments where I get blocked because I'm thinking about so many things. Mental paralysis. I've gone through PTSD where I lost literally like a year and a half of my life on this dimension. Over analysis. Sometimes I get stuck in my head and I want to over explain something because, you know, it took me such a long time to explain it, and I just kind of have like this word soup that just pours out of my mouth. Over sacrifice. Sometimes I don't have the energy to be giving my energy to people, but somehow I always put myself in this position where it's disadvantageous to take too many projects on, or I feel bad for someone, and it always comes back to slap me in the face. Injustice. I have definitely experienced injustice in my life. Imbalance, definitely. I've been in strife. I've been in war. I've been in conflict. I've been in a moment of like where if I see competition with my peers and I somehow feel like I'm not up to that, I feel like I'm failing. I sometimes have dwindling passions. Like, you know, for a long time I wanted to be a massage therapist. I didn't want to do that anymore. Then I just wanted to be a holistic healer. Didn't want to do that anymore. Then I wanted to specifically dive into shamanic healing and esoteric healing. Don't want to do that anymore. And now I'm in a new stage of my life where I'm like, I just want to teach people how to do all that stuff instead of me actually walking myself through that energy, right? So the last couple ones are difficulties in communication. Sometimes I do have a hard time like saying what I wanted to say. The older I get, the more I notice that like my Spanish and my English start crossing. So I'm starting to sound a little bit more foreign nowadays than I used to. And the possibility of separation. Like, I always have this thing where I'm not going to get attached to anyone or any one outcome because you never know what might happen, right? Separation is something that happens with change, okay? Now, I'm just going to do Autumn Raw, and I'm going to explain to you why it's so important to like understand these aspects of yourself. So Uruz would be the you, right? Physical strength, speed, untamed potential. Definitely have all of that going on. A time of great energy and health. Definitely my whole entire thing is energy and health. Energy, health. Freedom, energy, action, courage, strength, tenacity, understanding, and wisdom. All those things I have. Sudden or unexpected changes, right? Usually for the better. Sexual desire, masculine potency. When I want to be sexy, I can definitely find somebody who wants to engage with that, right? So then it's a shaping of power and pattern formulation of the self. I'm constantly working on myself. That's all right there true, okay? So then what's the weak side of that? The opposite of that? Weakness, obsession, misdirected force, domination by others, sickness, inconsistency, ignorance, lust, brutality, rashness, callousness, and violence. I have definitely been a violent person in my past life. I can definitely be callous if you cross me the wrong way. I can be super rash if I'm not in alignment with my solar plexus. I can be brutal sometimes with the messages that I deliver because I believe in honesty. I don't believe in sugarcoating things for you. I have been lustful in the past, and that's always gotten me in a problem. I've had ignorance in certain aspects long time ago when I was trying to understand myself. Sometimes I have inconsistency even today because I'm always expanding. I'm dealing with sickness currently. The domination by others was repeated in another rune that we were reading. Misdirected force, weakness, obsession. Sometimes I get obsessed with a certain project and I will not let it go until I feel like it's complete. So now that now that I know those energies, I can finish off reading, the M, the R, the A, right? And if you're just like me, you might have multiple different names that mean different things for you. When you realize, oh, okay, wow, well, this one name, Autumn Ra, is the name that I today most associate myself with, right? And that's the identity where I really hold on to, even though nowadays I'm stepping more into Asteros. Understanding the weakness of Autumn Ra, the weakness of Asteros, will then allow me to align that energy with the current time space that I'm existing in as Excel right now, right? So you might have multiple names. I really highly recommend looking up each multiple name and then finding the positives and the negatives and embracing them. Once you know through the Druid runes what those limitations are inside of you, you can actually make shifts, right? I would rather know that I'm somebody who can, for instance, we're going to look at the M for Autumn, and we're going to finish Autumn Raw. Depression, mortality, blindness, self-delusion, cunning, slyness, manipulation, craftiness, calculation. Expect no help now, right? So I'm a falcon person. My totem is a falcon. It's a lone ranger. I expect no help for the general gist of everything that I'm doing because I feel like that's just how my vibration is, right? I definitely can calculate. I was in business school. I've grown a multi-figure business here. Calculation is necessary to get to the next step. Craftiness. I'm always coming up with something new. I'm an artist, right? I also have the ability to be in a sly or manipulative state if I really, really want something. I don't tend to do that anymore, but it's possible. Cunning, thinking outside of the box, that's something else I can do. Depression is something that really affected me for a long time in my life. My mortality was also something that was what's the point of doing it all? We're all going to die anyway. I used to think that way. Blindness, where I know things are going to happen, but I want to see the good inside of people, so I turn a blind eye to it, and it always comes back to bite me in the butt, right? And self-delusion, partially with that blindness, I become self-delusional, no, this person in another lifetime did something negative, but not in this lifetime. They wouldn't do that to me today, right? So I turn a blind eye. I'm self-delusional. Looking at those aspects, I can be okay, I gotta make sure that I don't get in depressive states. I gotta make sure that I'm not self-delusional. I'm never gonna be manipulative or calculative in any negative way. I'd rather know my shadow, the darkest nature of myself, than not know it at all. Because if I miss that really integral piece of my own reality, then I'm only looking at one polarity of reality, right? But similarly, that's that would be the shadow, right? The negative aspects, all that right there would just be my shadow, this right here. But my light is the self. My self is my light. The individual, the human race, that's what I do. I work on myself so I can help other people work on themselves. Your attitude towards others and their attitude towards you. I understand the collective consciousness, friends, enemies, social order, intelligence, forethought, create, skill, ability, divine structure, intelligence, awareness, expect to receive some sort of aid or cooperation now. So when I'm in the positive, I get help from people, right? And when I'm in the positive and I have forethought and I use my intelligence and my skills and my ability and my divine structure to create awareness, then I'm working with the human race. This is all in alignment with what I'm doing right now. You're going to see that when you do this same thing for yourself, you're going to get to this point where you're like, holy crap. And then when you've analyzed the many different names that you may have had, especially by just understanding your nature through the Druid Alchemy, you'll start remembering other lifetimes and other things that are coming to you, okay? So reading them, you'll be able to say like, okay, well, this name, nameless, doesn't work with me because it's not in alignment with what I'm doing today. But it has attributes to my personality. Asteros is what I'm stepping into in this current time of Corona, where I'm like, okay, all the Atlantean alchemy is stepping forward now, right? So this name, Asteros, is much more predominant for me at this moment than Autumn Ra, even though Autumn Ra gives me a lot of power and allows me to see, wow, everything that the runes talk about when it comes to Autumn Ra is true. It's factual right now. It's happening. Like, it's been my entire life, right? And even when I read Axel will have certain aspects to him that are not necessarily positive. So, and it's in this moment where, for instance, like I've helped someone go from find an identity from, let's say, Aisha to Morningstar, and this is a real student of mine. Aisha had all this pain attached to her experience and her classification because of the name. The moment that Aisha chose to embrace her name Morningstar, her reality shifted. Her reality became more magical, more positive. She became more empowered. She let go of all of that negative trauma that she had grown up with under the scope of Aisha. Same thing happened with me. Axel Alberto, my name is Axel Alberto Carrasquillo, right? So like Axel Alberto was a lot of trauma and a lot of structure of like my antithesis. When I really started absorbing Autumn Ra, Steros, and Nameless, I started seeing past those limitations of Axel Alberto. So when you start doing this, you're like, oh, I can choose my identity, my truest nature, because now you're seeing the positive and the negative of your nature in general. Once you do this, you're totally gravy. You'll be able to access more energy inside of you, and everything that you've been learning through my Earth Alchemy course, the neurocodes, the Atlantean tablets of order and chaos, all that's just going to get amplified because your nature physically has changed by you reclassifying your name. All right, so you can do it the old way that I'm showing you right now, or you can go to this link right here that I have. Like I said, I cross-tested it. I definitely know that it's working. And you can go ahead and just type in a name, click convert, and the letters are just going to be produced for you. You're still going to have to look up what these letters are in their meaning so you can then read them. But it saves you a little bit of time just so you can see, okay, like this is what's happening, right? So Antojai is another one that I'm gonna research, which I've never researched before, and this is gonna be something where just looking at the runes and knowing the runes, enlightenment, bringing an end to something, harvesting, bringing your ancestral property to you, bringing more light to you, and truth and honor and justice, and also causing you to switch through any negative shifts that you have to shift through, right? That's what Antojai does. It brings you light, forces you to shift, forces you to be authentic and honorable with yourself. You end up accessing ancestral property inside of yourself. You become abundant. You share that light, and you stop a certain reality from actually affecting you. You become present in the constant moment. And this is because I just know the runes so well, like the back of my hand, where I can read this and be like, I already know what's going to happen. Am I still going to sit down and read the whole entire script for each one? Totally. This is something you want to do because it gives you a better understanding. And you can copy and paste them and keep them in a separate spreadsheet like I did, like this, and just reference it whenever you feel like you're hitting a point in your life where it's not working for you. Also, looking at this energy, you'll know what's coming up in your life based off of what energy you're currently experiencing. So if right now I'm experiencing let's say in Asteros, and we're just going to pop this up. In Asteros right now, I'm somewhere between the T and the E right here. These two letters right here. So I am in a moment of like embracing higher honor and wisdom, but I'm also in a movement of transition. I'm moving through something and it might seem stagnant right now, but I know that the next step is ride ho, which is going to be like a massive move, a massive shiftness that's going to bring me in more in alignment with my divine wisdom and bring a lot of success. So then I can use my same name to justify, okay, the vibration that I've been experiencing most recently are these two. Okay, this is what's coming up. The reason why I got to these two letters is because of this right here. And then you can then classify when you get to the last letter of your name, you'll notice that it just kind of like picks up again and it switches and it switches and it switches. In a way, if you choose to like identify every name that you have and then constantly rotate the names, like one day I wake up and I feel more Steros, another day I wake up and I'm more Autumn Ra, I can direct my multidimensional surfing across reality and find the exact things that work best for me. So I hope this is something that will help you. Let me know how the work resonates with you when you do your own research, because this is something that does change your impact, not only with your own personal nature, but the duality of nature that exists throughout all of existence that the Druids were so heavily trying to give us in our understanding. I love you, and I will be seeing you in our next episode.